Hello, and welcome to the center of the suppression abyss. Information that is too dangerous for the average American to take in, and therefore Facebook must not show it to anybody.
I feel like because we're getting closer to Halloween and no one's going to be able to celebrate it, then we should have like some spooky music coming in when you say that. Welcome to the center of repression.
I'm fine with that. Also, because we're getting closer to the election, which it makes sense that election would happen within days of Halloween.
It is a zombie holiday.
A zombie, soul-destroying, sucking you down to the underworlds and puking on your core kind of event. And it makes sense that going, with the election coming closer, that we, the stuff you and I do would be more suppressed than ever. It's hilarious that... I was telling you this earlier today. I have two YouTube channels. One is fairly new, few months old, like 6 months old, called Moment of Clarity. The other one, Redacted Tonight, has been going for years. Redacted Tonight has 230,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel. The new one, Moment of Clarity, has 9,000 because it's just getting off the ground. Nowadays, when I put up a video on Moment of Clarity and I put up a video on Redacted Tonight, Moment of Clarity gets half as many views as Redacted Tonight. Meaning with 9,000 subscribers, you can get nearly as many views as Redacted Tonight because Redacted Tonight is so aggressively suppressed that they're doing everything they can to make sure people don't actually watch the videos. But...
Yeah, I'm not great at the maths, but that sounds a bit lopsided.
I don't think the 230,000 are being alerted to the new videos. But anyway, welcome to you all. You've made it through all of the hurdles that the tech platforms and the ruling elite have put in your way. You found us in the deep, dark corners of the web. Welcome. Come one, come all. So this is a crazy news week, as every week is now. Various states are burning. Everyone's dying in hospitals. Various states, are attacking protesters. We're going to get to all that in just a second. I wanted to start off with a quick promo for your film that will be screening this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. In support of the Backbone campaign.
Well, it's with the Backbone campaign.
You do not support the Backbone campaign.
Sorry. Hate them. No.
You've been dragged into this kicking and screaming.
No, the Backbone campaign, they are awesome, and I dearly love the founder, Bill Moyer, who is a artful activist to the nth degree. He's a total badass. If you've ever seen like puppets or large inflatables and big signs, there's a good chance that Bill is behind that. They also did a lot of badass work. When Shell was going to drill in the Arctic, they stopped them with kayaktivism in the harbor of Seattle. So some really, really badass actions that the Backbone campaign has created over the years. And so in collaboration with them, my film Hard Road of Hope will be screening this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can find out more information about that. I've posted it on my Facebook page and my Instagram and Twitter. You can also just go to Backbone Campaign, their website and or their Facebook, and that information is up there. It's on a sliding scale, so whatever you can do to donate the proceeds.
And you'll be answering questions after.
Indeed, I will. The proceeds will be split between the two of us, me recouping the costs of making the film, and Backbone for their continued badassery. So
cool. So I'll just give one of those links rather than going through all of them. @ActivistEleanor is your Twitter, and people can find the link to the screening there.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's get on with it. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been lucky enough to leave this world.
Dark.
I know. That was pretty dark, but shit's getting crazy. And I did a moment of clarity on it, but I still think there's plenty of points to get to. Now, for those of you, and I imagine there's some of you that are still in the Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the be-all and end-all of justices, best person to ever live, superhero, I I'm not saying there aren't some good decisions she made. There are, but you don't come here. You don't come to our podcast or my shows or Eleanor's shows for the CNN, NPR version of events. You come here for the redacted side, the stuff that's not being covered, the stuff in this case about Ginsburg's legacy that has been thrown by the wayside in order to just build up the times she voted in a way that most of us are excited about or were excited about. So here is a bit of the other side.
Yeah. So, and again, this is not to say that RBG didn't vote well in a lot of instances, because she did. But again, as Lee noted, you don't come here to hear shit that you can hear on MSNBC and CNN. So this is a bit of a look at the other side, because I think it's important. Which
Ginsburg's getting right now. Sorry, you set that up.
God.
You set that up too easy.
No, Lee, there is no other side. When you're dead, you're just dead.
Oh, let's talk about going depressing. Earlier I created a whole world where your soul's being puked on.
Yeah, I'm much more, I guess I'm just less imaginative.
Where is that t-shirt, atheists are less imaginative? Because that's very true. The shit that religious people come up with is amazing.
And yet, the funny thing is that the atheists that I know, granted there are atheists that are assholes, just like there are religious people that are assholes and religious people that are nice, but the atheists that I know are incredibly creative and imaginative, just not about what happens when you die.
Just about other things, right.
Anyway, they're imaginative about this time because that's all you have. But my religious musings aside, so again, this is a look at what RBG did that we wouldn't agree with, and so. This is not an exhaustive list, mostly because I have not gone through all of the Supreme Court decisions.
She lived for 180 years, so it was a lot of decisions, and but also it's very tough to find and go through that stuff unless you can find articles on it from people who have already gone through some of it. And this is part of the reason we're giving this redacted side, is because you can almost get it nowhere. I mean, there's basically Republicans who are like, fuck RBG because she allowed women to be humans. And then there's the liberal CNN, MSNBC side. She
never did anything wrong.
Which is, why did we not have a monument to her 30 years ago?
Okay, so one example, Integrity Staffing Solutions versus Busk prohibits the overtime paid to Amazon warehouse workers. Department of Homeland Security versus a name I can't say grants Trump easy and speedy ability to deport immigrants who are seeking asylum without, quote, credible fear of persecution.
Which, of course, in the decision process, you're going to have fucking, goons that are, the person could be like, I'm being hunted by gangs in my hometown. And they're like, that doesn't sound like a legitimate thing. All right, we'll send you back. So it's like, who's making that decision, that call?
Hain versus North Carolina held that police can justifiably pull over cars if they believe they're violating the law, even if police are misunderstanding the law, so long as misunderstanding was reasonable.
Which I love this. I love this one because this is basically like, everyone, whatever little training police are getting, give them less.
Right.
Because if they are less understanding of the law, then they can get away with more shit.
If they reasonably misunderstand the law, which, consider the fact that if you reasonably misunderstand the law, you don't get off.
Yeah,
because
I thought murder was for people you don't know. If you know them, it's okay.
In court, they'll often say, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Right.
So it's an excuse for people with guns that shoot at you?
Of course, because otherwise just dopes would rule society. They'd be like, I'm dumb. I get to kill anybody. I can rape anybody. I can stab people through the ears. Yeah. Like.
Wait, are you saying that dopes don't run society?
Well, okay. It's sociopaths run society.
Okay,
very smart, often very smart sociopaths run society. Whereas this would be legitimate just dummies who don't know how to read, can do anything.
That's true. Another one, Sampson versus California, held that police can conduct warrantless searches of parolees because they're on parole.
Which I love that one because it's basically like, and this goes through a lot of American society, the idea that once you've been charged with anything. You should just like never have your life back. You should never have any freedoms back.
Right.
I mean, a lot of
You can't actually serve your time.
Right, a lot of countries, serve your time and move on. You mean, because once you've served time, you have the scarlet letter of a convict across you, and it stops you from getting jobs, it stops you from being able to live a life, getting state benefits, often voting sometimes, and so this just furthers that. Like, oh my God, you've broken one of these. Which, by the way, how many black men and women in custody or in prison are completely innocent? So, to start with, obviously there's white people as well, but the idea that every prosecution is so legit and so important and so meaningful that you should have your life destroyed forevermore is a fucking sick idea.
Right, and there are other. I'm not going to go through this, and I'm getting this list from Yoon, and the
What? I didn't write that.
Yoon.
Oh.
Oh, oh, okay. Sorry, I missed the joke.
That's all right. You focus on your thing.
Anyway, who is a member of PSL. So this really highlights the importance of political education, which is something that Yoon points out.
Oh, but you didn't mention the indigenous one.
Oh.
There's an indigenous decision in there that which I thought was important, which says once a tribe buys...
City of Sherrill versus Oneida Indian Nation of New York held that the repurchase of traditional tribal lands 200 years later does not restore tribal sovereignty to that land. RBG wrote the majority opinion, and these were her exact words. The court must prevent the tribe rekindling the embers of sovereignty that long ago grew cold.
That's so fucking... It's so fucking sick. Because here's what you need to understand, folks, is that ostensibly, the idea is that these Native American tribes are still, they have their own nation within our nation. That is the idea legally.
Right.
They are not supposed to be, the fucking servants of, the plebes of America, even though that is how America treats them in a lot of ways. But so the idea that if they purchase back land that was theirs, that is then not part of their tribal land. Now, you could, I suppose, set a time frame, like if it were 1600 years ago. Not that I would agree with it, but if it were 600 years ago or something, like the claim is getting a little tenuous because who knows where those tribal lands were. But when they have obvious, clear proof that this was tribal land, it was bought by somebody. It's now been bought back. And we need to make sure they don't get any sovereignty,
Right, and it's contradictory as well, too, because I believe she voted for the Supreme Court case that recognized that Oklahoma, that huge parts of Oklahoma do belong to the Cherokee Nation.
All right.
So it's a bizarre, right. and this is the thing. It's like I'm not sitting here being like RBG never did anything important or good, but it's important to recognize the nuance in her career and also to recognize how fucked up it is that people are terrified that because she died, our democracy is over. First of all, it's not, because we never had it. Two, just the idea that your hope for democracy rests on the grave of an 87-year-old woman is terrifying. And to put it another way, this is from someone on Twitter called Joanne Stalker. A system that cannot bear the loss of an 87-year-old woman because she's the bulwark of the rights of 330 million people, and that relies on the morals of 4 senators to prevent a 78-year-old man from rushing through her replacement, is a system that is fundamentally broken.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a broken system. And, there's a lot of factors about this, which I highly recommend people watch my Moment of Clarity on this if you want many more details about why what's going on right now with the Supreme Court frenzy is, not all it's cracked up to be, either because they're overstating Ginsburg's legacy in some ways, or because the Supreme Court doesn't have quite the power that a lot of people give it. I mean, many of the issues that they decide are in response to the people power, are in response to, millions of people in the streets, or a change in the understanding, the cultural mindset of our country. So it's like they didn't legalize gay marriage in 1800. They did it when all of the country was now endorsing gay marriage. And we see that again and again. And so it's not that these aren't good decisions. I'm not going to scold the judges who voted for gay marriage. Like, why the fuck did you do that? No, I'm glad they voted for that. But they were responding to a cultural change. And that is what we need. We need to create the activism and the power that forces the judges to do things like that. But something else, which I want to address, someone who emailed me saying I had it wrong, was that I said also the Supreme Court in certain ways were overstating their power. A lot of their decisions are important, but they are not a lot of the core issues of the country, or if they are, they all agree on those core issues. So, if you get to the point that you're getting on the Supreme Court for a Republican or Democratic president, you are already a judge that really facilitated and furthered the kind of corporate state empire. You are not a judge who's, trying to further claims of war crimes against ruling elite, or trying to release any nonviolent prisoner from prison. You are not that type of judge. You're not on the list for Republican or Democrat president. Democratic. So basically, these are oligarchy-approved shortlists to the Supreme Court, which it means that in these decisions, both in terms of what they decide to even rule on, and then in their rulings, these are decisions that have already been kind of pre-approved for the corporate state. And so someone named John Sarley, thanks for emailing John on my website, said, Lee, I normally agree with you on most things, but how can you reconcile the disastrous Citizens United decision as not being of major consequence? It opened the gates of hell, and that only represented a teeny-weeny fraction of the influence of the court. Okay, a few things. First of all, I didn't say that it's of no consequence. I actually think that some of these decisions are very important, but you heard what I just said. I said that a lot of these decisions are being made by a corporate empire-approved court to begin with. But to move beyond it opened the gates of hell, well, let's see. When was the president that actually gutted Glass-Steagall, allowed for Wall Street to run wild, allowed for all of the media waves to be put in the airwaves to be put in the hands of a tiny number, 6 corporations, imprisoned, doubled the imprisonment population? Was that before or after before or after Citizens United? Mm-hmm. That was Clinton. So. You talk about, when was the Cold War? When were the atomic bombs dropped? When were so many of these things? America has been run by these murderous clowns for a long time. I'm not saying Citizens United doesn't make it worse. It does. It allows power to even more purchase the system. But it's not like we had fucking, Medea Benjamin in as president until Citizens United was passed. It wasn't a lot of code pinkers in Congress and food not bomb senators. It was already owned by the oligarchy, and this just solidified that process for them, because it's easier for them to buy this power than to have to do it a little more with the meet and greets. It's easier for them to just buy the ads. But furthermore, I assume that when this person says gates of hell, he's probably talking about Donald Trump right now. And Donald Trump, the main reason Trump won was not Citizens United. Now, many people have won because of Citizens United, but Trump won because of his already existing celebrity and his ability to basically just lie and shrug off any attack that hit him. So, yes, he had a lot of money, but it was not the money at the end of the day. The media gave him 23 times as much coverage as Bernie Sanders during the primary. That was not paid advertising time. That was given. They call it earned, but that was given advertising time for him by the mainstream media. That was not due to Citizens United. And my last point on Citizens United is if you think that it made corporations people, That is not true. Corporations were people by Supreme Court decision back in the early 1900s.
No, 1886.
Sorry, 1886.
The Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad Company court
Oh, you
decision.
motherfucker. You've been doing research.
Boom. Boom.
All right, go ahead. Keep
You're
going.
welcome.
Keep going.
So this is and this is something that is important to recognize when we
I like
talk
it when
about
we're on the same wavelength like that. I didn't even know you were doing the research.
So this is something that you might hear people talk about when they talk about corporate personhood. And it's important to recognize, again, like the history of this shit. Because to think that this all started because of Citizens United or this all started with Trump, it's like that is a fundamental misunderstanding of history. And of course, this ties into how we understand the Supreme Court, too. The idea that the Supreme Court is totally unaccountable to the people is a grotesque affront to the concept of democracy, which, by the way, this country was never meant to uphold. But anyway, Santa Clara
It'd be
County.
nice if they tried now and again.
I wouldn't it? Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad Company was a case that was concerning the taxation of railroad properties. Now, the case is one thing, but the case is most notable because of a head note that was in the
Added
court report,
in.
stating that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment grants constitutional protections to corporations. A fucking head note. See, this is how.
But it's it's like jotted on there,
right?
And as I recall, it's even more confusing in history because it was jotted on there by like the guy who takes the notes for the court,
right?
But apparently that used to be a kind of elite position,
right? Yeah.
So he's like the former something of the railroad. CEO of that railroad or something.
Yeah, he's like a bigwig.
He has some sort of connection to like corporate America, and
Bancroft Davis.
And so he jots into the margin, by the way, we get all the rights of a human being.
The head note, which is, and I'm getting this from Wikipedia, the head note, which is, quote, not the work of the court, but is simply the work of the reporter giving his understanding of the decision, prepared for the convenience of the profession, was written by the court reporter, former president of the Newburgh and New York Railway Company, J.C. Bancroft Davis.
In a railway decision, the reporter in the court was a former railway baron.
Yeah.
Do you think this was by design at all?
Or do you think that might have been a conflict of interest at all?
Oh, my God.
But this is the United States. It's so important. This was fucking 1886. It is so vital that people understand that this fucking shithole country was never meant to be a democracy. It was never meant to uphold equal rights under the law. That was never the fucking point. It was built in defense of white, rich, landowning and property owning, read slaves, men. But that was the whole point.
So I don't know if I'd call this pushback, but to further nuance it, part of the reason they put in all these things that people cherish around the world and say like, but look at this idea and freedom of speech and stuff like this was because yes, these were white landowning males. So these are kind of the oligarchs. I mean, some of them might be lower level, but these are kind of the oligarchs of society. But they had just survived or gotten through a revolution from even higher oligarchs, the like monarchy of Britain. So they had fought and separated themselves from a ruling empire, and so they wanted to put some things in there that basically would make it so you don't end up in the same situation they had just been in, like feudal system to the crown. But they also were still the oligarchs of the new society. So they wanted to have it both ways. They wanted to put these freedoms in there, but they also wanted to make sure that the white landowning males still ran shit.
Well, and there's plenty of evidence for this too, because the only people that could vote at the beginning of the United States were 6% of the population, and again, that was white landowning men. And there's even correspondence to support this idea that, well, look, we can't give everybody an equal right to vote because there are so many more of them being, poor folks. Than there are of us, and that's white landowning men, that this would, if we gave everybody the equal right to vote, then this would be, and I'm not even talking about women or black folks at this point. I'm just talking about like poor white people. if we gave poor white people the equal right to vote in the the late 1700s,
They would vote for things that are good for them.
They would vote you out, you assholes.
Yeah.
So and they knew this. They weren't fucking stupid, the founding fathers. So they made sure that there were barriers
And
to be a part of this new quote unquote democracy.
And there's a great, I keep saying this on every show, but I might put this on a redacted tonight, but there's a great article by Richard Wolff, and I feel like he's said this many times. He's an economist. Most of you know him. That the article is titled "Capitalism's Democracy Problem," and it's similar. It's for similar reasons as what you're defining right there. Now, in that case, it's only partially due to market capitalism. It's which sets up the workers below the hierarchy, but similarly, nowadays, capitalism still has this democracy problem where if the actual people get to stand up and vote for things, they vote for things like Bernie Sanders. And that needs to be tamped down. It needs to be stopped. And that is why initially white landowning males, then it moved on to white males in general, then women and black people, and now they have this real problem where the white landowning males are not going to own society anymore, and so they've had to find new ways to contain their democracy problem. And some of it is massive voter suppression. 1 out of every 10 voters has been purged for this upcoming election. That reminds me. I should probably remind you guys to register and to check that you're registered. But so suppression is one. Another is with money. So Citizens United is one tool in the box of these elite who try and make sure that as few people vote as possible.
Absolutely, which is of course why
Sorry, I forgot to define one thing. But
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we never said this. So the corporate personhood was passed in 1886, and what Citizens United did was say money is speech. So that was another step in the corporate personhood mission, which then allowed corporations to spend unlimited money on political candidates. So it changed the money game. It didn't change the corporate personhood game.
Right. And to sort of tie these things together, the idea that you can vote for someone that will get you a better Supreme Court justice, again, you don't get to vote for Supreme Court justices. And as we've, Lee, you've mentioned this before, Merrick Garland, Obama's Supreme Court justice pick, and Kavanaugh, the douche nozzle that's currently on the bench.
And Garland did not get in because the Republicans stopped him.
Right.
Kavanaugh did.
Merrick Garland and Kavanaugh sat on the same bench at one point, and they voted together. Like, they voted the same way 91% of the time. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that 9% wouldn't be important, but I'm saying that to choose that as your hill to die on doesn't make any sense with regards to actually fighting for and trying to build a system that is based on justice and freedom and equity. It doesn't work. So the idea that, vote blue for RBG, no. Because Biden, the other flavor of a racist, sexist war hawk, is not going to choose someone that aligns with our demands for justice and freedom and equity. So an inherently undemocratic institution, the Supreme Court, an inherently farcical voting system, an electoral system, will not bring about the change that we need. Not just want, but need in order to have a fucking livable future. And so I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying, discount everything the Supreme Court has ever done. I'm saying this is about political education. It's about historical understanding of these institutions and how we do not live in a democracy. So casting your vote for a democracy, casting your vote for justice in an unjust system won't fucking work. And so that is the bottom line here, and that's the tying together the issue of voting and the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and in a way, the Supreme Court is kind of the last stop for the business community to be defended, if all else has failed. And you might say, well, approving gay marriage or something like that doesn't help the business community. But in fact, when the social fabric is starting to unravel because people are getting furious about their rights, it does help the business community to have a stable, somewhat stable society. So if you have massive protests like you did during civil rights, it actually helps the business community to have some sort of stable society. So in a way, the Supreme Court is the final say, unelected, undemocratic, final say to defend the business community.
Yeah, and of course this goes back to what I've said before, which is that it's important to recognize that our capitalist system is malleable with regards to changes that work for the ruling elite. So to have, gay pride flags flying at Citibank during Pride Month, that totally works for them because people see that and they're like, oh, they're progressive. I'm going to do my business with Citibank. So this, it is important to and just like, the Black Lives Matter banners that are up all over, like at Amazon and Netflix, they don't give a flying fuck.
Chase Bank puts up massive Black Lives Matter banners. It's like a race to see who can print out the largest Black Lives Matter banner. I mean, the big banner folks, they might have thought this pandemic would be bad for them. This pandemic has been great for them.
Yeah.
Dude, whoever prints BLM banners that are the size of like a mega yacht, you are fucking rolling in dough right now. You're doing awesome.
But yeah, so it's important again to recognize that capitalism is malleable, and so when these kind of decisions move forward, when weed is legalized and yet nothing is done about the issue of the war on drugs, you understand that we want to make weed legal so we can make money off of it, but we don't retroactively want to go back and free people who are unjustly imprisoned because of the war on drugs, because we want to keep the prison industrial complex going at the same time too. This is how the system works. It's malleable to a point. It's malleable to get more people into the into the turning wheels of commerce, but doesn't actually want to or give a shit about your human rights or justice.
That was initially on the flag, but they removed it later.
It was a little too verbose.
We don't give a shit about your human justice or whatever. So let's move on. Quick note. Eleanor's film will be screening with the Backbone campaign this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to @activisteleanor on Twitter to click the link and sign up. And we also will be doing a live stream again on this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're trying to make that a more regular time. You can join us for free at youtube.com/momentofclarity. So moving on to, I have a little hope in this. There's a glimmer of hope that is growing for me. But I don't know if you'd like to shoot it down through the course of this. But
why am I the shooter downer?
The shooter downer. I love it. I love it.
You're welcome.
She's a poet and she didn't even know it.
Okay.
So Assange's trial, it continues to be a fucking kangaroo court. We've already talked about it before, but I thought I'd give you more updates. For those of you who haven't noticed much about Assange's trial, you're following the wrong news sources. You need to follow the one. If you regularly watch, listen, read, or touch a news source or fondle a news source that is not talking almost daily about Assange's trial, then you're following the wrong shit. Fucking turn it off, because it means that they are corporate propaganda hacks.
Who, by the way, have used WikiLeaks in the past. So they're also like just
hypocrites too.
Hypocritical ass jockeys.
So follow Assange's trial. At the end of this in a second, I'm going to give a list of journalists, at least some of them, that are doing great work on the Assange coverage, because it's not even easy to follow. I mean, for one thing, they only allowed a certain number of people to view it online, so you have to go to those journalists to actually find out what's been happening. But I will say this in a positive, optimistic note, is that we're seeing, I don't know if it's a turning point, but we're a tipping point, but we're seeing an increase in the number of world leaders that are coming out and speaking on behalf of Assange. Lula, especially, the former president of Brazil, who was imprisoned on some fake charges by it wasn't U.S. created coup, but it was certainly U.S. supported, basically, coup to make sure he couldn't run for president and put in the fascist Bolsonaro. Lula spoke out, you can watch the video, adamantly and angrily about demanding the freedom for Julian Assange.
Well, and real quick note about Lula, because I think this is important. Lula isn't some crazy ass radical leftist. Lula is in a lot of ways, had a lot of neoliberal policies. So yes, he's
like
progressive on many issues like workers' rights and things like that, as I understand it. However, he's not like this crazy ass leftist. So it's important to note the breadth on the political the political spectrum of people that are speaking out for Julian Assange.
Right. And I'm no Brazil expert, but from what I've read, he was very good for a lot of the kind of liberal oligarchy in Brazil. So many of them were fine with him. It wasn't like the top of the society feared for their money that much. But it was still enough. The changes he put in place were still enough to mean that the United States didn't, wanted him out, and the far right-wing kind of fascist side of Brazil wanted him out as well. And so they put together this, sham trial, which has now all been outed by leaked text to The Intercept and stuff like that. It really is, and that's why he's out of prison, is because the trial was a joke. Anyway, we're getting way off track, but.
I just wanted to put that out so that people understand
the problem is every sentence we say is like
is
the tip of an iceberg. So we basically jump from tip of iceberg to tip of iceberg, and then we try to get to one iceberg we're trying to dig down on. But if you stop at each tip and go, hey, look at the rest of this iceberg.
So I just did a little slide down that iceberg.
It's fine. I like it.
Now I'm climbing back up.
I like the Lula history was good. So, but anyway, he gave a passionate defense of Assange, and so did, I don't know if he did it on video, but a former Prime Minister of Australia has come out. There's a new group called Lawyers for Assange that is, and we're talking, high-level lawyers from a variety of countries have come forward and said this trial is a joke, it's a sham, he shouldn't be in prison. There's also doctors for Assange. Many high-level doctors have come out saying his health is at risk and he needs to be freed immediately. And you just have this growing call. Obviously, whistleblowers, well-known whistleblowers like Daniel Ellsberg, you have this growing call from some world leaders saying this man must be freed, and this is incredibly dangerous, a precedent to set. Even if you hated this one man, it's incredibly dangerous precedent to set that a journalist anywhere in the world, but especially in places that had up until now claimed that they defend the freedom of journalism and the freedom of press, to imprison him, to extradite him on bogus charges is just insane. And
for folks who haven't seen Lee's most recent Redacted Tonight, go watch that shit, because it is a brilliant comparison of Assange and Bob Woodward, the guy that everyone's creaming themselves over right now, who is also a big fan of getting and releasing classified information. So, but the way that you put it together is fucking awesome. So if you haven't seen that, it was this past Friday's episode, and it's awesome.
Credit where credit is due. The initial video, which I then talk a lot about, so I'll take some credit, but the initial video is from Matt Orfala, so everybody can look him up on YouTube.
How do you spell that?
It's got an E-A in there.
Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot with that.
I know. I'll find it in 1 second. It's spelled a little weird, so I don't always get it right. Orfalea, even though it's pronounced Orfala. So Matt Orfala. Anyway, check out so he's the one that found the video of Bob Woodward saying over and over again, I get classified information, I get sources that can give me classified information, and then
I nag sources.
And then I reveal it. Yeah, he actually at one point said, Bob Woodward says, I go up to these sources, and if they won't give me the classified info, I say, come on, let's not be chicken shit about this. So these are actual quotes from the liberal hero, Bob Woodward, that the fucking media right now is spooging their pants over because he put out a new book about Trump, revealing Trump knew about coronavirus back in January, February, knew how harmful it was, and didn't say anything to the American public. The media is so excited about him, and yet they're silent, nearly silent on Assange. And it's just the peak level of hypocrisy, especially when it threatens their own fucking careers. But all of that you've heard me get angry about before. However, this is new. What's been going on in his trial in the last couple days, it's been about his health. They've moved on to discussing his health because one of the things that actually has gotten people out of extradition to America before is how dangerous the prison system is here, really. How it could force someone to commit suicide. There are other health risks. And so the discussion on the stand was whether Assange is a suicide risk. And this was either today or, I guess it must have, today or yesterday is when this happened. And so the prosecution is badgering a doctor witness, a psychologist who had met with Assange, who was saying he is a suicide risk. And, unfortunately, he's had depression and he's, not looking very healthy. And the psychologist believes there is an extreme chance of suicide if he were to find out he's being extradited, especially if he were to find out he's being extradited. And so the prosecution, trying to disprove this, is saying, no, you don't know that. He's fine. Look at him. He's doing great. He's happy-go-lucky. I'm paraphrasing, but here's another paraphrasing which I found hilarious. The prosecution said to the psychologist when he was saying it's his suicide risk, he said, "But you said Assange played pool with the other inmates. That's not a behavior of someone who can't function and is a suicide risk." Yeah, no one who's ever been a suicide risk has played a game of pool.
Right. And it basically like you're not depressed enough, you're not visibly on the edge of an absolute breakdown because you decided to try and find a sliver of enjoyment in a absolute shit existence. Like, yeah, that's evidence.
And that's just one example of the garbage that's going on in this trial, which is really, an impressive mountain of shit that is just raining down like a deluge over this. And largely, the reason I have only a twinkle of hope and not that much hope that he won't be extradited is because this judge is, her job, as you know, this actually fits with our Supreme Court discussion. Her job is to solidify the British Empire, their needs as a country for quote unquote national security, and she has been terrible to Assange in his defense. She's allowed unprecedented things like putting superseding indictments on days before this trial began. She's just allowing him to be in a glass box in the courtroom, as I said on my show, as if he's Hannibal Lecter or some shit. It's totally laughable that this sham trial, several, including Ellsberg, have called it like the Stalinist show trials, where really there is no trial. It's predetermined that this person is going to be executed or extradited in this sense. And so she's terrible. She's part of the ruling elite that is meant to not allow whistleblowers to come forward. And anyway, she has shown, some of the people reporting on it say she has shown a bit of softening now that she sees how ridiculous this trial against him is, or whatever evidence against him is.
Well, then I definitely hope that there is room to soften even further, and I do share your sliver of hope. But I think that
you're not the shoot downer this time.
I'm not the shooter downer. But I think, again, like, this is why it's so important to keep the pressure up. It's so important to keep talking about the story, as you noted, Lee. It's so important to share this and tie it to other issues. And I think we were on a podcast, What the Folk, a week ago, a year ago. I don't fucking know. Days just blend. But we were talking about Assange.
That was actually 1882.
And before corporations were people. And we were talking about this issue, and one of the questions we got was, how do you make people care about this, and how do you tie this to other issues? And I think this is where that sort of like creative activism comes in, right? How do we talk about Assange in a way that people who are fighting for an end to police brutality, people that are fighting against the war machine, people that are fighting for a sustainable future. How do we tie this in order to make them care, or to get them to engage with it? And I think the answer to that is pretty simple. The amount of information that WikiLeaks has shared with us has influenced all of our movements, from Occupy to anti-war. It's so important to see the breadth of information that WikiLeaks has. The TPP, for instance, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would almost absolutely have gone through if it weren't for WikiLeaks leaking what was included in there, which had to do with everything. It had to do with our access to healthcare. It had to do with things like green energy and the ability for big oil and gas to sue people for loss of profit if you pass something like a sustainable policy. So the amount of shit that WikiLeaks is responsible for sharing with us, the amount of information that has been released through WikiLeaks, is every issue. It is every issue that you can think of. And it really, again, shows how all of these issues are interconnected, and how we can't, again, fight single issue fights because no one lives single issue lives. And the connections on these issues will look different for, however you're organizing, but those connections have to be made. And people like Julian Assange have to be protected from the extreme ire and the fist of the state, because these sort of truth tellers are vital for our ability to not only fight but build.
Well said. And I'll wrap up the Assange segment here by saying that there are a bunch of good journalists that you should be paying attention to. Like I said, if you pay attention to any outlet that is not regularly at least mentioning Assange, then turn them off and pee on their corpse. But here is from Shadowproof, a guide to reporters, to journalists doing great coverage on Assange. Now, Shadowproof is one of them, shadowproof.com. Kevin Gastola is, and keep in mind, those who are then in America, like Kevin, they get up at 3 a.m. to watch these proceedings. So they're up all night for weeks in order to cover this for you. So pretty impressive task there. But so shadowproof.com is one of them. Consortium News has been doing a great job at Consortium News. They've had impressive guests on there, like Ellsberg, like the lawyer who put together Lawyers for Assange. Really great guests on there. So check out Consortium News. And they have videos on YouTube as well if you're more of a viewer rather than a reader. And let's see, we have James Dolan, Byline Times. I'm not going to go through each of the outlets listed at shadowproof.com, but here are a few more. Charlie Jones, reporter for Court News UK. And then we get into the advocacy organizations. You have Assange Defense, which is at Defense Assange on Twitter. Then you have DEA Campaign, at DEA Campaign, which stands for Don't Extradite Assange, not the Drug Enforcement Agency. And then finally, two more. There's Reporters Without Borders. Rebecca Vincent has been doing good work at Rebecca_Vincent. And lastly, the group Action for Assange. I've tried to help them out on some things, but they've been doing great work. It's at Action_4Assange. I think their Twitter got weirder because their last one was deleted, because that shows you how much they're trying to stop information about Assange. But Action for Assange is putting together of events almost every day this week in D.C., but I think many cities have events going on, so you just have to find yours in your city. But if you're near D.C., these events are all starting at 2 p.m., and they're at the Trump International Hotel today, White House tomorrow, Newseum the day after, Friday Lincoln Memorial, and you can get it all at actionforassange.com. That's the number 4, not the word 4. And check all that out.
Good.
Quick housekeeping. We're doing a live stream Sunday 8 p.m. We'd love for you to join us. We chat with you guys and we answer your questions, and it's a fun time. Many hundreds of people attend each one, and it's good to meet other people that are also talking about these issues. So that is free to attend. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/momentofclarity. Please click subscribe when you go over there. Eleanor's movie is at hardroadofhope.com. My comedy special is free at leecampamerican.com. You can watch it anytime. Also, if you want to be a member, because we have no funding outside of what you guys chip in, there are no ads for anything. There's no sponsorship. It only comes from you. Go to patreon.com/commoncensored. I'd love for you to do that and be a part of the show. Join the show. Join us. Help us make this show happen. My book is at leecampbook.com. Also, I have a newer podcast called Government Secrets with Graham Elwood that you can find on all your platforms. Just look up Government Secrets. And all of Eleanor's work is at artkillingapathy.com.
Indeed. And I, too, have a new podcast with Carla Bergman, the co-author of Joyful Militancy, and that's called Silver Threads. The first episode came out last week. The next one will be next Tuesday. So if you're interested in hearing about that or learning more about that, you can check it out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher.
See, now I've been promising for months now that if people listen to both our podcasts, they could fill every day of their week. And I think we're now there. If you got Common Censored, you got Silver Threads, you got Government Secrets, you got Act Out, your podcast, and then Moment of Clarity, which is all of the audio from Redacted Tonight. So that's 5 podcasts. You could each day you could be like, I want some more Lee and Eleanor content.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay, let's cram one more story in here, shall we? What do you got?
What do you got?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. Shall we go through the actual new information on Pinochet's brutal military regime and the U.S. and U.K. involvement?
Sure. Nothing like a little...
Or would you rather do something a little more philosophical?
Well, the philosophical one it's a longer conversation, I feel.
Okay. Well, let's do this then. So many of you may know that there is another 9/11.
Mm-hmm. The OG 9/11.
The OG 9/11, September 11th, 1973, when the U.S. Helped and maybe even was the main force behind the coup in Chile to take out, and he was ultimately murdered. Well, they claim he suicided himself, but... Chilean leader Salvador Allende, who was a socialist and outspoken socialist. He said, Allende's platform proposed to transform, quote, the present economic structure, doing away with the power of foreign and national monopoly capital and of the latifundio, which means large agricultural estates, in order to initiate the construction of socialism. So there is nothing more threatening to the U.S. and U.K. empires than...
Is nothing more threatening.
Didn't I say is?
Oh, I thought you said was.
Okay.
Sorry.
There is nothing more threatening than a foreign country basically saying, we're not going to be your serfs anymore. We're not going to be your resource...
Fuck your Monroe Doctrine.
The Monroe Doctrine. We're not going to see your resource piggy bank anymore, where you can just steal our resources. And I think it was copper mining was huge in Chile at the time, a huge resource for the U.S. So that's what he was saying, Allende. Now, he ran for president before he won, and he lost that time around. And now, new documents. These are declassified Foreign Office files. I would like to find out the name of the journalist reporting on this. It is John McAvoy. John McAvoy is revealing that these are declassified documents, just recently declassified, that show that Britain conducted a covert propaganda offensive to stop Chilean leader Salvador Allende winning 2 democratic presidential elections, and helped prepare the groundwork for General Pinochet's brutal military regime. Now, I think that he is a British reporter, so this is more fascinating maybe to Brits, but a lot of people have known the U.S. involvement to some level, and I think a lot of people did not know that there was British involvement. So this is kind of new territory. They may have suspected it, but these are proven leaked document or whatever, declassified documents. And so Allende lost the first presidential run, and in no small part due to the propaganda efforts by the British and U.S. governments to help make sure he lost that run for president. He then won, despite their efforts, later in 1970, and then started putting into play his socialist view for Chile, where the people would get more of the money, more of the resources, rather than the rich, the oligarchs, the rulers of the society, and that those and other resources, such as the copper mining, etc., would not go to foreign countries like the U.S. So they had to make sure and kill him. That is the next step if you are standing up against U.S. empire and clearly the U.K. empire as well. Allende was overthrown in a military coup led by General Pinochet, the head of the Chilean military, on September 11th, 1973, and Pinochet was working with the CIA, and as well as these declassified documents show that the influence of the British government as well. And they created, last point, obviously there's a much deeper article on this you can read if you look up McAvoy, but one last point, the British officers had covertly facilitated a CIA-funded news agency, Former World Features, FWF, Forum World Features, FWF, which was, so it's this CIA-funded, British-backed, propaganda machine. And in 1973, 3 months after Pinochet's coup. So this is important to me. This is you've already created the coup. You've killed the socialist leader. Now you need to rewrite history. That is the next step to make sure this guy doesn't go down as a martyr. The people don't realize, hey, they took from us the leader that was trying to help us. And so in order to do that, there's a variety of things that must be done, but here's one of them. After the coup, FWF journalist Robert Moss published Chile's Marxist Experiment, a CIA-commissioned book which denied Washington's role in the coup and laid the blame at the feet of Allende. Blame the victim. And the Pinochet regime purchased 10,000 copies. This is a tiny country. 10,000 copies of the book to be given away as part of a propaganda package. And Crozier, who I think is connected to the British, later recalled that Moss's work, quote, played its part in the necessary destabilization of Allende's regime.
Yeah, well, and this also, again, like this speaks to the sort of cozy relationship. People, today understand that the U.S.
special relationship.
The U.S. and the U.K. are allies, but this is something that goes back quite a way. Even beyond the 20th century and back into the 19th century, when the Monroe Doctrine, the whole idea was so that the United States could maintain control of our backyard, and the idea that they wouldn't help. The other side of the Monroe Doctrine is that they didn't want these countries to gain independence, they wouldn't help these countries fight off their colonial overlords, right? They didn't want to have other revolutions where there were brown people fighting for their rights. Oh, hell no. So the United States has been a staunch supporter of imperialism and colonialism since the advent of the United States. It's not for freedom and justice. And the cozy relationship with the UK.
I thought it started after Citizens United.
Yes, actually, no. It started after Trump was elected.
Oh, okay.
So, important note. So yeah, there's a very, very strong and long-standing cozy relationship between the imperialist forces of our nation, the United States, and others. So this is not at all surprising, but it is surprising to me, although I guess it shouldn't be. Every time, people talk about Chile or Argentina or Nicaragua or whatever, and they're like, God, they just can't get their shit together down there. And it's like, yeah, it's like saying that you can't get your shit together when somebody's, attacking you with a 2x4. Shit, why can't you get your shit together? So, and this, of course, again, speaking of connecting issues, we can't talk about migration without talking about the U.S. role in perpetuating that migration, in causing that migration. People don't leave their homes because they're just like, oh, well, it's Tuesday, I've got nothing else better to do. They leave their homes because they can't survive there. And the reason they can't survive there is because it's so destabilized by the violent interference of the United States empire. And that's how it be.
And, speaking of how the interests of the UK and the US overlap in so many ways is not just because it sets a bad example for these countries to throw off their imperialist chains, but also because the UK has also financial interests in these things. They're often making money out of these same piggy banks, out of these same colonies that they view themselves as owning. And in fact, the Falkland Islands off of Argentina was a big fight for the UK to try and maintain their ownership of it. And there's overlapping, there was but there's also overlapping claims from Argentina, Chile, and the UK over areas of Antarctica. So it's, it's like the UK has a you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours kind of thing with the US as well, where it's like you keep, your ownership of the countries you basically are, sucking off of, and we get to keep ours, and we'll back you and you back us. So there's multiple overlapping claims for why the British wanted to help the U.S. to maintain control over Chile or gain control over Chile.
What's that George Carlin quote? It's a big club and you're not in it. Or it's a small club and you're not in it. I can't remember what.
Well, he says big club, but he means that it's a big club and you're not in it.
About the 1%, about the titans of the capitalist system. Anyway, on that note,
we will wrap up, and we will send you on your way. Although, actually, we would like to not send you on your way. Join us over at patreon.com/commentcensored for an extra 10 to 15 minutes. That is the extra content for those of you who are patrons. You help make the show possible. Patreon.com/commentcensored. Also, join us Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern for a live stream. We'll answer your questions at youtube.com/momentofclarity. And join Eleanor for a live Q&A and screening of her film. You can find it. It's going to be this Thursday, and you can find the details and everything at Activist Eleanor on Twitter.
And on Instagram.
So until
next time, act out.
Keep fighting.